Hello, good evening. And so tonight, Lindsay and I are talking all about if it's possible to script your birth. So, I'm waiting for Lindsay to join us, and once she joins us, then I will hopefully be able to add her. I've had a few issues recently with Facebook and doing lives, so I'm hoping that tonight that will be resolved and that I can add Lindsay quite easily. So the reason why I've asked Lindsay to do this is because I recently heard her broadcasting her birth story, and one of the techniques that she used within that is a technique called conscious creation, where she created a script and started to really plan her birth around that script, and it just sounded really fascinating, and I wanted to know more, so therefore I thought it would be really fascinating for everybody else. So I'm just waiting for her to join us, and then once she's joined us, then I can hopefully add her. So I can see, hi Andy, I can see Andy's there. So I'm hoping that Lindsay will be here shortly, and will be part of this live shortly, and it all works. I've had a complete nightmare with Facebook recently, so hopefully tonight the Facebook gods are on us. I can't see who that is. Somebody's thumbs up. So hello. So I'm really looking forward to this. So Lindsay's birth story is absolutely amazing anyhow, but I think just having this technique that not only did she use for her birth, but that she also uses in her day-to-day life, and I'm really fascinated by it. I'm a really big one for visualizations and using visualizations and affirmations, and certainly we use them a lot in the birth bundle, and I'm really fascinated by how our brains can control what happens and the outcomes. So I'm really looking forward to hearing more about this conscious creation. So I'm just waiting for Lindsay just to join us. I'm hoping that she will be on any moment. So I'm just going to see where she is. So well, I can probably just talk until she's here. She should be on, so I'm just wondering in case there's been an issue. Oh, there she is. Right. I'm going to try and add you, Lindsay. Right. It says that I can't add you, but can you invite yourself onto it? So is it possible that you can add yourself onto the conversation, Lindsay? I think you can invite yourself in. So I'm not sure if you can see that. Hi. Can you invite yourself in? Because I've tried to add you, Lindsay. So, but I can't seem to do that. I can add somebody else, but not you. So can you add yourself in? Honestly, Facebook is really doing my head in. This was so much easier before, but recently it seems to become a bit complicated. So if you... For some reason, I can't add you into hi Mandy, hello. I'm just trying to add Lindsay into the thing, but it's not letting us. We might have to do it in a different way. So I think you might be able to add yourself somehow, Lindsay. So I'm not sure whether, if you've got any options along the bottom of your screen, and if you do, is there anything with a camera and a plus? Right, okay. I'm just going to end this broadcast, and I think we're going to try and do it on Lindsay's page and see if we can do it that way, because I'm having such issues with Facebook, so apologies to everybody. Oh, I can do you now, Lindsay.
I'm here.
Go. No. Are you okay? Did you manage to do it?
So I had to use my phone, not my laptop.
Ah, right, okay. Yeah, you have to do it on your phone, not your laptop, yes.
Yeah.
That's fine. it's really frustrating. Another thing is, like, I found it recently, is you have to both be like on portrait, and you have to both be, it's really complicated. I don't know why it's so complicated. Anyway, welcome. Thank you so much for doing this. So Lindsay is a mum to two, so she recently gave birth to her daughter. So that's what we're going to be talking about tonight. She is also a perinatal yoga teacher, so she teaches women in pregnancy and postnatal, as well as doing baby massage. She is also a doula and a birth worker and a lover of all women. And she, in addition to that, she also runs her own health and wellness company, which is to help women to say yes to their health. Now, the reason why I've asked Lindsay on tonight is because she recently did a broadcast of her own birth story, and I was really fascinated by the whole story. But specifically, I was fascinated by a technique which she spoke about, which is called conscious creation. Now, I'm a huge one for visualization, and when I work with women, we do a lot of visualization. And I really, really, really love that whole sort of technique. And often I believe that, like, our minds can control our body, but this sounds like it's like 10 steps further than just some of the visualizations that we do around birth. So I really wanted to ask her to come on and just give us a bit of a background to it, because I felt that I could use it, but also that everybody else in the community could use it as well. So I think it's a really positive technique to use around birth. So welcome. Hello.
Hello.
How are you doing?
Yeah, really well, thank you. Super well. Apart from horrible weather this Easter.
Oh God, it's awful, isn't it? It's absolutely doing my head in. So I just really wanted to start off, like, how did you find out about conscious creation? Like, how did you start to get interested in it? How did you find out about it? What made you think that I'm going to use this?
So I'm sure that people who have tuned in, and I'm sure yourself, Trisha, you've heard about the law of attraction. I'm sure you've heard of that. So the idea that our thoughts become things, and that everything around us is energy, and that our thoughts are actually energy, and as we think thoughts, we put that energy out into the universe, and likes attract like. So you bring back the thoughts, the energy that you're putting out there. You know, people call it energy, or like the law of attraction. Some other people call it karma. You know, people have different words for it. It's like, you know, people call it the universe, source, God. People have lots of different words for this entity, this energy, this field this world that we live in. So I was introduced to the law of attraction probably when I was quite young, actually, about 20. And I was really quite blown away by it, a little bit overwhelmed and quite skeptical. I don't know about you. What do you think?
No, I'm a big one for the law of attraction. Certainly when I've made myself a space to use the law of attraction, certainly it has definitely worked.
And
I think one of the things is discipline.
Yeah, exactly.
Disciplined.
Mm-hmm. And when you give yourself space to put it into practice, and if you are disciplined, and yes, it works. So you do wonder why you don't do it all the time. Because you start to see the benefits of, and this sort of buzzword of like manifesting, you start to see the benefits of your manifestations, but then we all were human, right? So we just stop doing things, you know, because life happens. So you know, I did that loads when I was at uni, and it worked beautifully for a lot of things in my life. And like I said, life happens. So recently I have become I would say slightly obsessed with a girl called Peter Kelly. If everyone who's watching, so anyone who's watching this who is interested in a kind of new way of leading and earning and giving everything, you need to look up her book. It's called Earth is Tiring. It's amazing. So she talked about conscious creation during her pregnancy, and I followed her story, and I can remember thinking, that is what I'm going to do. That is one of my biggest birth preparation tools. And it was one of my favorite things to do. And it constantly kind of evolved. So, but like you said, I was very disciplined with it. I practiced it every day. And for me, it's about choosing your preferences, and embodying the story that I wanted to create. So it's not about saying, you know, you're not involved, you're not kind of what's the word, you're not choosing your outcomes, because that is up to God or source or the universe. But this, no matter what the details are, we choose how we feel, if that makes sense. You can always choose how you feel. Always.
Yeah.
So for me, you know, that I know that the universe is listening and the universe responds, because we're put here not to live a life of, you know, need and, you know, hardship, but we're, you know, for me, I believe we're put here and the universe wants us to thrive, not just survive, but thrive. And, you know, have beautiful relationships, and, you know, have abundance in, you know, money and happiness, and in everything that we want. So that was how I wanted to bring that into my birth. So I just thought that I might, you know, if you want, you know, I might share a little bit of my birth script, just so people can get an understanding.
Oh, absolutely, totally. Yeah. Totally.
Kind of what it is. So I'll share a little bit of mine, and then I've wrote down here for people who are watching who might be interested, or for people who will watch and replay. I wrote down you know, 6 tips from you know, on how to write your birth script. So, you know, I typed mine, but then I've got lots of writing all over mine, and I continuously changed mine and edited it, and, you know, added things in just throughout the whole of the 9 months. So I did type it originally, but then I've got scored bits out and just made it fun and bright and playful. So the really important thing is, when you're scripting, is to write it as if it is happening right now, or it is future tense, or like it's already happened. So not like I want this to happen. Sorry, past tense. So not that I, you know, this is what I want to happen, this is how I'm going to feel. It's like, this is how I feel, or I felt. So you're writing that it's already happened. So that is really important, because then you actually begin to embody it, and the more that you read it and the more that you believe it, the more it just becomes part of your story. So I have started it by saying, everything started slowly. I had small, soft tightenings, and I could feel my body preparing to open as I began to melt and surrender, marrying my breath and my body as one. I was so excited. This was it. My dad began to fill the birth pool. Jamie and I set up a safe, intimate space in my room. There was candles, music, aromatherapy, and Jamie and I decided to take a walk, keeping my body and mind active and moving my body to create energy and encouraging blood flow down to my womb, to inspire my cervix to dilate and for my baby to move down deep. Stepping out into the fresh, crisp air felt so good. It felt so revitalizing and so refreshing. With every surge, I allowed my body to mold into Jamie, using his strength and his warmth and his love as my shield. So none of that happened at all, but that's not what it's about. Do you know? So when returning to the house, I swayed and I rolled, resting and relaxing and flowing with each ebb and flow. I felt completely in control as I immersed myself fully in the water. Deep into my body, connecting with my baby. We were a team. We were birthing together. A conscious creation of birthing life. I gave myself over to my body, my baby, and my birth. I could sense Lucas floating around. I could hear his gentle touch, his tiptoes and his giggles, and it comforted me. His presence kept me strong and fierce, and my family's presence surrounded me with a cloak of protection. I rode each wave, soaring high and low. They became stronger and more powerful, and I could feel my baby beginning to move deep into my womb space and through my body. I roared loud, fierce, low moans and bared down with each expansion. It was so intense. However, I harnessed the deepest, most feminine power within me as I felt my baby's head make an entrance. I reached down and placed my hand on my baby's head, and with each breath, I welcomed my baby earthside, and I said, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, Mother Nature. And with the next couple of surges, my baby emerged slowly, gently, and intimately. I took the time to look at my baby before instinctively scooping up my baby into my arms. I was a birthing goddess. So,
and that sounds very much like how your birth went in lots of ways, in terms of, I've heard your birth story, so I don't know if you want to describe how that marries up, because obviously there's things that didn't happen.
Absolutely.
But then in terms of like how you felt, in terms of like you were birthing, I don't know if you want to share what your reflections are. I can see what my reflections are from listening to you, but what do you think your reflections are on that?
So just like I mentioned before, like the details aren't like exact by any means. There was no time for walks, there was no time for the birth pool, but how I felt throughout this was exactly on point. You know, even by saying I could see Lucas floating around and his tiptoes and his giggles, and I remember that. And there's a lovely part in my birth video which my mum captured of Lucas coming over and placing a cold flannel over my neck. And I remember thinking, oh my word, this is so beautiful. Like, I know he's here. And I felt so responsible that he was watching me in like my most fiercest, most feminine, most primal moment. And he was going to remember this for the rest of his life. And I felt really responsible of the, you know, as his mother to show him how amazing birth can be. So, that's how I felt. I remember knowing that like my dad was with Lucas, my mum was there, and Jamie right there with me, and we did this as a team, me and Jamie for sure, and that was exactly what I wrote as well. You know, we were birthing as a team, and you know, the what a really beautiful part for me, and one of my favorite parts, and something that I would have never have done instinctively if I hadn't have scripted it, was that when I could feel Luna's head and I could feel everything, every surge, every movement, every expansion, as I felt her head moving in and out through each of the very last surges, I remember thinking of my script and thinking, I placed my hand down and I welcomed her, like, thank you. I just kept saying thank you, thank you, thank you. And I remember the midwife thinking that I was saying thank you to her. Because she was like, you're totally welcome. You're doing this totally on your own. And I can remember thinking, like, having a little giggle to myself, like, I'm actually not saying thank you to you, but that's funny. And I was just saying, like, thank you into me with every surge. And then I remember her, like, her head coming out and feeling that overwhelming sense of relief. And just like I had said, like, slowly and intimately, I took time to look at my baby. And that is one of the things I really did. Again, if I hadn't have scripted it, I don't know if instinctively I would have stopped to look at her and then scoop her up. But I really took the time to look. I looked to see if it was a girl and then scooped her up, you know, onto my chest. So it was all those little things, you know, the details weren't exact, but how I felt was beautiful. Yeah.
No, that's absolutely, no, it's really, really beautiful. So I can just see something there from Mandy, just about unrealistic hopes and expectations surrounding birth are at the centre of why our women feel and express trauma. And I totally get exactly what you are saying, Mandy. I absolutely agree with some of that. And I think my belief is that even if Linzi hadn't had that birth at home, that still having some elements of that birth, I believe that most births can be really, really, really positive. So even if you end up in the same situation, I do believe that you can still have a really positive birth, even if it's a cesarean or end up in other way. And I do believe that we can plan for all different scenarios. But I think it's about how we feel about our birth. And I know that it's not always possible. And actually, most of what I work with is around women who've had really difficult births and preparing them for subsequent births, and my own births haven't been easy. My second one was particularly traumatic, so I do get exactly what you're saying. But when I'm preparing for this birth, regardless of what the actual outcome is, there's going to be certain elements of my birth that are non-negotiable, and that will make it. And it's about how I feel about that birth. Does that mean? Have you got anything to add, Lindsay?
Yeah. So the one thing.
Can you see that?
Yeah, I could see that comment for sure. So the one thing I had said that I actually had wrote another script now. So I had wrote 2 other little paragraphs on if I needed to transfer to hospital, and if there needed to be any interventions. So I had wrote, now I don't actually have it because this is the one that I wanted to focus on, but I did write 2 other paragraphs of how I was going to feel if things hadn't have gone this way. And it was, you know, I felt really safe. I felt that I was I know that and I actually give myself permission to feel disappointed in my script.
Yeah.
Because that's really important, to give yourself that permission to feel disappointed. Because, you know, Trish, you know, me and you know, as doulas, you know, people, you know, say to women, oh, well, you've got a healthy baby and you're fine. But, you know, that's not, you know, all that that's not the only thing that's not fine sometimes.
No, totally.
So I did give myself that permission, you know, and I am disappointed. I felt really disappointed that I didn't get my birth, but I know that I was safe and looked after and in the best hands. And I'm so grateful that, you know, I have this amazing system to support, you know, me around this. So I did have 2 alternative paragraphs. So I do think that's important to add in, that I had scripted for 2 different situations as well.
Yeah. No. And I think it's important that we do, when we are working with women and, you know, our own sort of plans. Like, I've got very, very specific plans in my head about how I want my next skin birth to be. And I've got really, really, really specific plans. And I know that if it ends up in a different way, I'll still feel positive because I know what the reason is that's ended up like that.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. So thanks, Andy. That's really lovely. Thanks very much for saying that. Did you see the comment there from Andy saying it's really beautiful? And I think it is really beautiful. And I do think one of the things that I, for example, in working with women sometimes post-birth, it's the fact that they've never actually visualised themselves opening, expanding, giving birth. And I do really believe in the power of that visualisation. And I think often that they haven't worked on that. And often it's because we haven't ever really seen births. And I do believe that actually all women should be doulas or support births before they actually give birth, to actually witness how amazing our bodies are at opening and expanding, and seeing how we can grow to allow our babies to come out. And I think often it's that bit that's missing, and actually seeing births in a completely different context. And yes, some births do need to have intervention, but I think a lot of it is we hold ourselves back. We don't necessarily let ourselves just melt into the birth or just go into the birth. Is that we hold ourselves back with fear because we're scared that our bodies can't do it for whatever reason. And I certainly go back to my previous, and I think that's probably how I was preparing. So I'm just going to read Andy's comment here. So she says, I think I did the same for both of my births too, though I didn't have a name for it. I was trying to do a homemade hypnobirthing course. I couldn't afford the course. And I actually think that's a really good point. We don't necessarily need to do a big course. Actually, it's just really about having that visualize. I don't know, what are your thoughts on that, Lindsay?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And
what are your thoughts?
Visualization of an event that's coming up isn't just like a new thing or something that I've done, but like sports people have done this for years. Like, you know, like people who, you know, sports psychologists take all like the big sports people, the athletes through this. You know, basketball players lining up their, you know, shot, shooting through the net. Football players visualizing themselves actually moving up to to take a penalty. You know, how they're going to walk back, how they're going to move up. You know, 100-meter sprinters literally visualize every single step, how they're going to feel, how they're going to breathe. They go through all these visualizations, and you know, it's proven to work. Do you know?
So did you think that you find it easier being a doula to do that because you've actually seen births? So do you think that, I'm just wondering out loud, do you think it's just because we have witnessed births that it's actually easier to see, or do you think it's...
I think definitely second time round. Even, you know, I think for first time mummies, it would be much harder. You know, to really try and feel and know exactly how you can expand and breathe. But that all, you know, you can really tune into that by going to like prenatal yoga or hypnobirthing or something like that, because we talk about our breath so much in prenatal yoga. And, you know, during my yoga classes, teaching my own yoga classes throughout my whole pregnancy, with every time I was in the breathing and taking my mum through the breathing, I was actually visualizing my birth in the bath, you know, moving and melting, you know, anytime I could. And that goes back to the being so disciplined and reading your birth script and changing it, reading it and embodying it. You know, even whenever I was in the shower, sometimes I could feel the water. And, you know, I was thinking, oh, this is lovely, closing my eyes, thinking about my script, and really just moving myself into that mental space where I wanted to be, for sure.
So Andy's commenting, sorry, she said it worked well for her too, and she focused on saying to herself, I feel calm and confident no matter what happens, and I know what needed to do. And I think it's having that trust, isn't it? And I think often, like, we have lost that trust in ourselves that we can give. Like, I think we have lost that trust, and I think if this is the sort of thing that can, if it's one of the tools that can help to rebuild that trust and rebuild that confidence, it's really positive. Like, it's really positive. I think it's an additional mindset tool that you can use. Like, I've got about 10 different mindset tools in the birth bundle. This is something that I haven't included because I never properly used it. So I think it's a really interesting one to add.
Absolutely. And actually, my Michelle has just joined, my lovely Michelle. So Michelle was the last lady that I supported during her birth. And genuinely, Michelle, I cannot tell you that, because it was so intense with my birth and so soon, I thought to myself at one point, I was like, oh my goodness, I'm going to have to call Michelle and tell her how much of a hero she is for doing this for 15 hours. Because I was thinking, I don't think I can do this for 15 hours because of how intense it was. But obviously it was that intense because it was at the end already.
It was so fast.
But I remember thinking,
but also it was so fast.
It was so fast
as well. The whole thing was so fast. Yeah. And I think when it is really fast, it is really intense. So, and that can be a bit of a shock to us as well. And somebody put a comment on the Facebook page this week about having a really, really, really fast birth, so fast the midwife and doula didn't turn up. And that can take a while, I think, for your body and brain to really marry up what's happened. So it's like this like disconnect between like the body and the brain until like it can take 4 or 5 weeks, I think, just to start to like regather. Like, it can just be so far. I don't know if you find that.
Yeah, for sure. Because I as much as I told my birth story on an Instagram Live, I still haven't wrote it up. I still haven't typed it or wrote it out, because it's taken me quite a long time to really, like, even though it was only like 1 hour, but you know, even like the all the circumstances that made it happen on that day and the people that were around, it's taken me quite a long time to kind of fathom it and bring it all together. So yeah, there's Michelle saying I didn't think I could do it either, but she did. She was amazing. So strong.
And then actually so many women during their birth say, I can't do it, there's no way I can do it, I can't do it, or I say, like, have like a mini panic. But when that happens, it's like, you know that they're just about to do it.
Yeah, totally.
You know, there's always that point in every birth, and that's probably the point that you had when you wanted to phone her. Was that like, oh my God,
I know.
You know, but that's the point. It's all just about to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. I know. So I have a couple of tips on just you know, how to write a birth script that I think that might be quite useful. Because I just, you know, I think that, you know, people go like, well, how do I write it? Like, okay, you've said it like either present or past tense, but there's a few other little things that I thought would be nice to add in, just so you could take that for even for yourself, Trish. So remembering it's, you know, whenever you sit down to write it, you are writing how you want your birth to be. So you are choosing your story. You are the master of your own creation. You are choosing your story. You're master of your own mind. So write it when you're feeling really vibey. So when you're feeling hot and positive. So maybe just you've come back from the gym or a yoga class, or you've just watched a really awesome birth video online. Sit down and write your birth script whenever you're feeling good, because that energy is going to really flow through you. Remember, number 2 is remember that it's all about how you feel. And I know I've touched on that before. It's not about the details, but it's about how you feel. Focus on the feelings, because it's the feelings that allow that space and allow the universe to kind of move through you and help, you know, create the magic really in how you feel. So number 3 is write it in present or future tense, about writing a script about the birth you want. So I've already covered that. And also write a little bit about, maybe start off with how you feel in general about birth or about your pregnancy. So maybe you could start off with your birth script, like I have felt so grateful. I felt so grateful throughout my whole pregnancy to be honoured with carrying and growing a baby. I'm so lucky that I was able to take care of my body, do regular exercise. So I feel excited about the birth. Or you could even be really honest and say, I was nervous about the birth, but I've worked through, and, you know, I've done my yoga, my birth preparations, my visualizations. So just a general, you know, how you've been feeling about pregnancy and birth. And what were your sort of thought patterns? Number 5 is add in as much detail to make it feel as real for you. So as much detail as you want. So I've obviously said I could sense Lucas floating around, his little tiptoes, his giggles. I've said about, you know, going for a walk, encouraging the blood flow. Obviously the details about me reaching my hand down. And, you know, saying thank you for the baby as the baby enters. So whatever feels real for you, like, you know, I know Trish, you're going to have the amazing Nicola there, so you could maybe say something about having her presence there. Or,
oh, totally. Yeah.
You know, whatever feels,
I mean, that's
real, you know, or whatever, you know, you could even do something like, you know, I just really like enjoyed the smell of my lavender, or whatever you're going to have burning. Just adding in all those little details, you know, just to make it like super real. And, you know, then the last thing is after that, so end it with a really powerful statement. So you're closing it. So I've ended mine with, I was a birthing goddess. So that's how
I love that.
So just really strong, really powerful. And then, I'm sorry, like the last thing then is then to read it, reread it, embody it, and change it. Constantly keep changing it, and just be playful and have fun with it. Really.
Yeah.
So,
and I think it's just about getting excited, isn't it? It's just about that feeling like excited, and yeah. And did you use like other, like, did you use like so for example, like for me, one of my big affirmations is, she said, like, you know, I've got Nicholas, I've got like the best doula in the world, I believe, to be supporting my birth, and I think it's like, for me, like one of my affirmations is like, I'm really well supported. You know, and often it with clients, like that's one of our affirmations. So did you use affirmations or other techniques with it, or was it just literally?
No, I definitely
for like mood. I'm a really big one for like mood boards and pictures, and yeah,
I definitely.
Did you use anything else?
I had affirmations all around my birth space, and I had I had a few that were my favorite, and there was at one point that Jamie was saying to me, look, it was really super intense, and I was like, I was whimpering a little bit, because it was like I was nearly on that stage of crying, and Jamie was like, you're doing really well, you're he said to me, like, you're doing really well, babe, like you can do it. And I was like, just tell me that I am strong and fierce. So, because they were the two words that really resonated with me. He kept saying, and then, you know, I didn't want him to say you're doing really well. So I said to him, just tell me I'm strong and fierce. So he was like, you're so strong, you're so fierce, you're so strong, you're so fierce. And I was like, yes. So that was, and I also loved, whenever I was, one of the things I really love to do is one of my favorite songs. Like, so people like can meditate or visualize, do, you know, music. But I love the Katy Perry song Roar, because I am a champion. And you know that bit where you're gonna hear me roar, and I was like, I just loved that. I just like, I can remember like listening to that one time in the car when I was pregnant, being like, that's gonna be me, you know, I'm gonna roar. And I really did. I loved it.
And I think I love that, because I think often, like, I think one of the issues sometimes is some of the like birth videos we see, and some of the like the chat around birth, is the fact that women like breathe their baby out, that they're kind of like not active, they're kind of like I don't know, passive, and they're, but actually like most of the births that I've been at have been like really intense, and like women have like really roared out their baby, and they've made noises. And I think as well, like we need to really acknowledge that, and like really like we need to really go into like our primal self. And I think sometimes it's when women hold back, because either they're like, I don't know whether they're like embarrassed, or whether they think that they shouldn't be doing it, or that they should be breathing in a different way, or whatever it is. But actually you need to sometimes do that kind of like roar to get that baby out, or to do it in the way that you want to do it. And I think we have these really tight constraints about the way that we should be giving birth, and we've got the hospital epidural sort of constraints, and then we've got this other sort of bit where it's like we breathe our baby out, we don't make noise, we don't do, and actually that isn't actually how I think most births most births are.
And at the very end of Luna's birth, like, it was so intense. I did scream, like I did scream, because it was you know, it was, you know, that very last, that burning sensation, it was completely overwhelming, and I did scream at that point. And I can remember thinking, wow, that was crazy. But, you know, that was so just the way it was. But like, you know, 1 second later, like, it was fine, you know. But at that point, and at that, you know, that peak, that's what you had to do. But whenever we were talking about earlier about it being you know, fast, it take, you know, on my birth video, which I'm hoping to be able to share like really soon. I'm going to edit it. I'm getting it edited as we speak. You know, you'll see me sitting back in the bath, and I'm totally shell shocked. I'm like, whoa, that was so fast. And I'm kind of like wiping my brow. I'm like, not because it was long and hard, but because it was like, oh, did that just happen? But, you know, with scripting, like, I just, as well as through, you know, it's such a wonderful tool. Like, I think Michelle, like the beautiful Michelle has just said, so Michelle actually,
I saw that.
Michelle was actually one of my mummies from my portobello class, and she had with her second baby, she had a beautiful VBAC. So
beautiful.
Yeah, it was, so yeah. I think what she said there is lovely.
And I think that she's right. I think we are made to fear birth, and it's really, even like tonight I was at a yoga class, a test yoga class, and people were chatting there, and they were talking about how they've heard all these birth stories and how it sort of influenced them and made them sort of think that they can go with the flow, but it really depends on what those birth stories are. And I'm like, well, you need to really work out where your beliefs come from. And actually, Peter Kelly, I heard her doing it. She's done a really good podcast, I think, with is it Melissa Ambrosia, or I can't remember what her name is. Anyway, she's done a really good podcast with two, actually, and one of them, she was talking about that, and about how she had to she had to get rid of other people's birth stories, and about how she had to focus in on her own birth stories, and I think on her own birth story, and she created it. And I think that is really important, because I think it depends on whose stories you're listening to.
And there's so many stories,
and what you're Yeah.
There's so
Yeah.
many
I know.
stories
I know.
floating around about birth, like,
Yeah.
you know, and that's
And I
being
think
derived from our culture.
totally. And I think as well, when you've had a difficult birth, because nobody listens to you when you've had a difficult birth, what happens is you start dramatising the birth and you start making it more, and you do it because you're like, please listen to me, I want you to listen to me, I'm really desperate. So you make the story bigger and bigger because you're so desperate for somebody to listen to you. And that's not a judgment, that is just because we don't hold space for people enough when they've had a difficult birth. And I think if we did more work around that processing of those births, then actually women would then it would completely change things as well. So I think there's lots of stuff. I could go on about this all night.
I know.
So,
we could.
Yeah, I know.
But I think what I kind of just wanted to end on is that, you know, you can script for, you know, so many different things in your life.
Yeah.
So like I have just rewritten my money script, which was a big one for me, because I just have to keep revisiting that. I've scripted like the next 6 months, the next year, and then so I've done like big scripts, and then I've also scripted for like certain things I'm coming up in my life. So I've got a couple of big events coming up in the next month, and I've scripted all those out. So I kind of do like long-term scripts, and then, you know, as in like day-to-day scripts as well. And it does take time, and, you know, in the midst of life, of crazy life, you know, I could be going, you know, it's not an income producing activity by any means, but you know what, we all spend time watching crap on Netflix, scrolling through Facebook, Instagram. So just take 10 minutes a day, not doing crap and, you know, frying our brains, and sit down. And it does take discipline, but you know it's action, and it's about, you know, that's what's called conscious creation. You're consciously taking time out to create the life, the birth, whatever you want to do. And that takes that, you know, you can't have, you know, one of the quotes I like is, you can't have $1 million lifestyle with a minimum wage work ethic. So, you know, you have to put the work in, you know, to consciously create anything. It doesn't just happen.
I totally agree with you, and I think people do think that things just happen, but they don't. They take hard work and dedication to make things happen. So I totally agree with you. I think
writing a birth script, like, you know, isn't, you know, that in itself isn't sometimes just enough. You know, you do have to do everything else with that. You know, I definitely contribute a lot of my success. Well, success is the wrong word, but a lot of you know, that in my birth to you know, doing regular exercise, eating really well, visualizations, you know, at the scripting, but, you know, and the walking, and just like you said, the support that you feel. I felt so supported this time. I'm really lucky. It comes naturally to some people to have that support, but for others it doesn't. But if it doesn't come to you, if you don't feel that you have that support network around you, definitely go and find it. It's so important.
Totally. And I think your tribe around birth is really important, and who you listen to is really, really, really important. I think who you listen to around your birth and that tribe is vital. So I'm just really aware of that's been us chatting for 45 minutes.
My God.
And we could be here for like another 3 hours, because I know what we're like. So one day we will be doing it with wine. And anyway, so I'm just aware just of the time, but can I say a massive thank you. I'm going to go and re-listen to this again tomorrow and really sort of really take some much better notes from it. I've been trying to scribble down a few things, but I feel like I need to like really process it. So thank you so much. I really appreciate your time and and sharing your experience. And great. Okay, take care. Lots of love. Bye. Bye. Thanks. Bye.